Chapter 10. Kessel's weak atmosphere slowly smothered the fires burning amid the ruins of the two concussion missile launchers on the ridge overlooking the landing zone. A little smoke and even more dust rolled in a lazy mist down the escarpment, pouring like a vapor stream across the unpaved roadway carved from its face. The mist dissolved before it hit the flat of the plain, leaving a clear field of fire for Page and his people as they set up a perimeter around the hillock at the center of the plain. Whistler hooted in a low tone. Looks pretty clear to me, too. Corin began a long turn to starboard that took him out of over the main mine complex. The only surface features visible were the administration buildings and some storage sheds for surface vehicles. One track led off to the north on a nearly direct line for the nearest atmospheric plant. The other major track led south to the hills and the plain where he would be landing. 9 is clear, Rogue Leader. I copy, 9. Come in and land. Don't forget your breathing mask. Thanks, Lead. Corin brought the X-Wing about and flew back to the plane. He eased his throttle back and cut in the repulsor lift generators. The X-Wing glided down gently and hovered 5 meters above the ground. Using the rudder pedals, Corin swung the nose around and positioned his fighter so it formed the third point of a triangle with Wedge's and Noira's fighters. He covered the southern defensive arc of the Rogue's position and left enough space for Tycho to easily bring the Lambda-class shuttle down in their midst. Corin extended the landing gear and brought the ship to rest, then killed the repulsor lift generators and engine. Whistler, remember, shoot first if you have to, then go for an engine start and give you more laser energy. If you have to, hover out of reach until the rest of the squadron comes and covers you. The droid keened mournfully. No, nothing will happen, I promise. But I want you to be careful. He missed a chunk of Whistler's reply, but took it that the annoying tone carried the meaning of the missing content. He doffed his helmet, drew the blaster from his shoulder holster, checked it, took it off safe, and reholstered it. Finally, he pulled on a breathing mask and a pair of goggles, then popped the release on the cockpit canopy. It slid up and he crawled out. Corin jumped down and found Kessel to be just a bit lighter in gravity than Borlius or Naquizar. He ran over to where Wedge and Noira stood beside an orange mushroom-like tent that the commandos had assembled. How did your conversation with Moruth Doole go? Wedge frowned slightly. I think I got my points across, but he's right on the edge of paranoia, and it doesn't take much to push him over. Doole's probably a glit biter. The Twi'lek twitched a head tail in Corin's direction. I don't believe I've heard that term before. Corsac slang, sorry. Glitterstim is the most potent form of spice. The stuff most people get is cut and diluted so heavily that the most they get from using is a little euphoria. Glit biters are taking the real thing, and it seems, in some folks, to punch up their latent mental abilities. They can read minds, or so they think, and they assume any mind they can't read is closed because the person is plotting against them. Doole probably forgot he was seeing a hologram of you, Commander. You were hostile. He couldn't read you, hence he figured you really had it in for him. Lieutenant Page, a dark-haired man of medium height and build, came over and pointed towards the horizon. Land speeder coming down the road. Wedge hit his comlink. Lead to 12. How does it look? One vehicle lead. Thanks, 12. Wedge turned to Page. It's coming alone. If you clear it, let it come in. As ordered, sir. Page went running off in the direction of the big boxy land speeder, and a squad of folks fell in behind him. The land speeder slowed, then stopped, and a door opened. Page spoke through the open door with someone while his people checked in and around the vehicle. Apparently satisfied with the inspection, Page closed the door and jumped back off the vehicle's running boards. He waved it forward and it headed in. Other commandos stopped the land speeder about 100 meters beyond the perimeter at a point where it remained under the guns of Wedge's X-Wing. 2 people got out, and a trooper escorted them forward towards Wedge. The man stood very tall and seemed to Corin to be painfully thin. What little hair he had left on his head was white and wispy enough that Kessel's weak atmosphere could make it float. The woman came up to the man's shoulder and had deep brown hair. Corin guessed from the way she moved she was younger than the man, but her face was deeply enough scored with wrinkles that he would match them in age were he looking at still holograms. The commando moved the two visitors into and through the tench simple airlock. Then Corin and Nawara followed Wedge through. Once inside, they were able to remove their breathing masks, though the acrid stink of hot plastic almost made Corin put his back on. Resolving to breathe as little as possible, Corin joined Nawara in front of some folding camp chairs. Squeezing past the table with the holoprojector on it, Wedge extended his hand to the man. I'm Commander Wedge Antilles, New Republic Armed Forces. I lead Rogue Squadron. I knew your daughter. The man shook Wedge's hand firmly and kept a brave expression on his face, but the slight tremor in his lower lip betrayed his true emotions. I am Kassar Forge. This is my wife, Maida. I want to thank you for the hologram you sent after Lujane. He fell silent for a moment, and his wife rubbed his back with her hand. She always said she wanted to be a hero and show something good could come from Kessel. She succeeded. Wedge turned back toward his own people. This is Nawara Ven and Lieutenant Corin Horn. Kassar shook their hands as well. Corin didn't release the man's hand, forcing himself to smile as he looked up into Kassar's dark eyes. Your daughter really was a hero. She kept the unit together. She told me about what you do here, about teaching people so they don't have to return to crime. She spent a lot of time teaching all of us, too. Thank you. No, thank you. Corin patted the back of the man's hand. I owed her a big favor I never got a chance to repay. If there's anything I can do for you, please, don't hesitate to ask. Kassar nodded, then freed his hand from Corin's grip and turned back to Wedge. I guess I have to ask what it is I can do for you, Commander. I'm sure all this wasn't just so you could say hello. Your strike on the moon base caused a lot of excitement, and Doole is not happy about losing his missile launchers. If Doole wants to be happy, today will not be his day. Wedge ran a hand along his jaw. We're here to take some people away from Kessel. Some very bad people. We're also going to take as many of the good people from here as we can. On the top of my list is you and your family, if you want to go. And go or stay, I want you here to point out people who should be on the list but aren't. The tall man clasped his hands together against his stomach and stared at the orange fabric floor for a moment. I came here by choice a long time ago, well before any of you were born, back before the Clone Wars even. I don't know if I've done very much good here, but I think I've done very little evil. I'll stay. Maida? Her hand grasped the back of his neck and shook him gently. I didn't come here willingly, but I did stay because I wanted to be with you. We will stay, and our family will too. Maida's voice took on an edge at the last of her statement, and Corin saw her exchange a sharp glance with her husband. Kassar nodded slowly. I am willing to help you, Commander, but I don't want to make decisions about who goes and who stays. I'll offer what I know. If you're afraid of reprisals, no. No, I've long since been judged harmless by everyone here. You're taking them. The decision is yours to make. I understand. Lieutenant Ven has my list of the good folks that want to get out. I'd like you to review it with him. Wedge twisted around and touched the holoprojector. I've left Moruth Doole with the impression that this is very much a rogue operation. He thinks I'm setting myself up as the middleman in this hostage operation. I've told him I'm willing to transport prisoners off Kessel, prisoners he'll be well rid of, in return for getting my people off. That's an accurate description of what will happen, but not my focus in this project. Still, Doole has to think I'm willing and able to kill his prisoners, blow up his stores of spice, and toss him into the maw. Maida looked over at Wedge and Corin with a piercing stare. Are you capable of doing that? Capable, yes, Wedge nodded, and not particularly reluctant to do so. She smiled. Good. Fear is as much a part of life on Kessel as spice or air. Control it, and you'll do fine. Wedge hit the power switch for the holoprojector. An image of Moruth Doole the size of a pilot's helmet glowed to life. The batrachian Rybit hopped impatiently from one foot to the other, then stopped and clasped his webbed hands together. He twisted his whole body around to peer closely with his good mechanical eye at the holocam in his dark office. The green of his flesh melded with a similar hue of his jacket, while the tan tracery on his flesh looked as if he'd been drizzled with paint. Because of the way he leaned forward to get near to the holocam, his head swelled out of proportion with his body and nearly made Corin laugh. "Is that you, Antilles?" The Rybit's voice jumped sharply between octaves and added more L's into the center of Wedge's name than necessary. "It's me, Doole. I've got my first exchange to offer you." Wedge looked over at Noara Van, and the Twi'lek nodded. Wedge smiled tightly at the holoprojector. "I have a group of 10 Celestans. For them, I'll take Arbit Skynix next." "No." "No?" "I am selling them to you. I decide what I am paid. Skynix is mine. He does not leave." Doole hopped up and down angrily, then searched around until the metal and glass mechanical eye again spotted the holocam. "For these Celestans, I will give you Zekathine." The name didn't surprise Corin, but Kassar's reaction to it did. The old man shuddered, and Mida clung to his arm. "They look as afraid of Thine as Doole sounds." Corin raised a hand, and Wedge hit a mute button on the holoprojector. "Commander, he's too anxious. He wants to be rid of Thine. We can get more for him." Wedge nodded, then unmuted the communications device. "Thine isn't of interest to me. I'd have to be mad to let someone like that leave this rock." "You will take him, or you will get nothing else." Wedge pulled a comlink from a pocket in his flight suit and held it up where Doole could see it. "Rogue leader to 12. You're free to fire on warehouse number 1. Doole's image capered away from the holocam, then hunched itself over, as if the Rybit was looking at a monitor built into an unseen desk. Doole reeled back, then ran to the holocam. "You wouldn't dare." "No?" 12 here, lead. I've acquired the target. Commencing run now." "Antilles!" "You have something you want to say to me, Doole?" "The Celestans and more." 12. Abort the run, but don't clear your targeting data." "As ordered, lead." Doole's thick purple tongue played out over the thin line of his mouth. "The Celestans you can have. What else?" Wedge turned away from the projector as if giving the problem due thought. Noara held up fingers to indicate which of the target groups he thought should be added to Thine's ransom. Wedge nodded, then turned back. "We're sending you the data on a group of 5 Bothans, including Erska Plocree." "Plocree." Doole's mouth snapped shut, then he bowed his head. "Done. And Thine brings with him another." "Who?" "His cutter." Wedge looked back at the forges, but they gave no sign of even having heard Doole, much less understanding him. "Corin?" "I know I've heard the term before." He thought back, then nodded. "It's a Spicer term, used a lot of years ago when Thine was still on Corellia. A cutter is someone who prepares spice for use or sale. It came to mean someone close enough to a person that they could be trusted with cutting their spice. He probably means aid." Kassar's head came up. "He means lover." Corin shrugged. "That too." Wedge nodded. "Do you know who it is?" Kassar hung his head, and Mida answered. "We do. Her name is Iniri." Corin checked his datapad. "I've got nothing on anyone by that name." "You wouldn't. She's done nothing wrong." "Something's not right here." Corin frowned. "You don't get sent to Kessel for nothing. How well do you know this Iniri?" I thought I knew her very well. Mida swiped at a tear rolling down her cheek. She's our daughter. And that's the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.